The walls are closing in on Kody Brown, and the receipts are finally coming to light. After more than 3 decades of unwavering loyalty, of pouring her heart and her bank account into a family that treated her like an afterthought, Meri Brown watched in horror as the proceeds from her Flagstaff home sale allegedly disappeared into the waiting hands of her ex-husband and his favorite wife. Sources close to the situation are calling it the ultimate betrayal, and folks, when you hear the numbers being thrown around, you will understand why this story has the entire Sister Wives fandom in an absolute uproar. Let us be brutally honest here about what allegedly went down. Meri spent years contributing to the Brown family empire, her bed and breakfast income, her LuLaRoe earnings that reportedly reached into the hundreds of thousands annually, her TLC paychecks that allegedly went straight into the family pot. She did everything right by their plural family rules. She played the game. She stayed loyal even when Kody could not be bothered to visit her home for an entire year. And what did she get in return? According to insiders, she got to watch Kody and Robyn walk away with a significant chunk of money from the sale of her own property. The timing of this financial gutting makes it even more devastating. This was not some random business transaction that happened during stable times. This happened while Meri was still processing the complete collapse of her spiritual marriage, still grieving the family she had dedicated her entire adult life to building. One source put it bluntly when they said watching Meri go through this was like watching someone get robbed at their own funeral. The cruelty of it is almost incomprehensible. Yet here we are. Those close to the Brown family have been whispering about financial improprieties for years, but what happened with Meri's house sale allegedly takes the pattern to an entirely new level. Documents and insider accounts suggest that Kody treated the transaction not as the closing of one chapter in Meri's life, but as a business liquidation where he was entitled to extract every penny he could justify. And his justifications, according to sources, were creative to say the least. We are talking about claims of family debts stretching back years, shared expenses that somehow only went one direction, and investments in the family that Meri never agreed to subsidize from her personal property sale. The paper trail that has emerged paints a picture that should make every viewer's blood boil. This was not a one-time opportunistic grab. Insiders say this was the culmination of a financial system designed from the very beginning to benefit one person and one person only. And if you think you know where this story is going, trust me, you have not seen anything yet. Because what we have uncovered about how this money trap was set up years ago is even more shocking than the house sale itself. The Brown family financial structure has always been shrouded in mystery and carefully crafted television narratives, but when you peel back the layers, what emerges is a system that allegedly kept 3 women in perpetual financial vulnerability, while ensuring Kody maintained total control. For years, viewers watched the family operate what they called a family bank, a pooling system where everyone's income supposedly went into one central account to be distributed according to need. Sounds fair on paper, does it not? Allow me to translate what that actually meant in practice. Sources who have studied the Brown family finances extensively claim that the family bank was essentially Kody's personal slush fund with extra steps. Every wife contributed their earnings, their TLC income, their side hustles, their everything. But somehow, when major financial decisions were made, when properties were purchased, when debts were assigned, Kody's signature was the only one that truly mattered. The other wives were contributors. He was the controller. One insider described it as a financial arrangement that would make a cult leader proud. Property deeds tell a story that the television show never wanted you to see. In multiple instances across their moves from Utah to Las Vegas to Flagstaff, public records show Kody's name appearing on properties that his wives believed they owned. These women paid the mortgages, they maintained the homes, they raised their children within those walls. But legally, on paper, in the eyes of the law, their claim to those properties was tenuous at best. Christine Brown's book, Revelations, confirmed what many suspected when she discovered that despite years of payments, she had no legal ownership of the home she thought was hers. Let that sink in for a moment. Meri's situation allegedly mirrored this pattern with devastating precision. She contributed everything to the family pot for over 30 years. Her inheritance from her mother, her business income, her reality television earnings, all of it flowing into a system that promised security and delivered exploitation. Sources say Meri operated under the genuine belief that her contributions were building equity in her future, that the family bank would protect her the same way she protected it. What she allegedly discovered when her Flagstaff home sold was that those decades of contributions had purchased her exactly nothing. The structure was not an accident. According to those who have analyzed the Brown family's financial history, this was a carefully maintained arrangement that kept the wives dependent while giving Kody the legal standing to claim ownership whenever convenient. One financial expert who reviewed publicly available documents called it a masterclass in maintaining control through economic dependency. The wives could not leave because they had nothing to leave with. Their contributions built Kody's portfolio, not their own security, and when each wife finally did walk away, they discovered just how empty their hands truly were. What makes this particularly infuriating is how long the charade continued. These were not naive young women who did not understand money. These were intelligent adults who trusted a system because they trusted the man running it. That trust was allegedly weaponized against them for decades. And when Meri's Flagstaff home finally sold, when the moment came to divide proceeds that should have represented her fresh start, the payout structure shocked even close family friends who thought they understood how bad things really were. The Flagstaff property sale timeline reads like a slow-motion car crash that everyone saw coming except apparently Meri herself. The house was listed at a price that reflected the Arizona real estate market, and it eventually sold for a sum that should have set Meri up comfortably for her next chapter. Should have being the operative phrase here, because what allegedly happened between the sale closing and the money distribution is where this story takes its most devastating turn. Sources familiar with the transaction claim that when the proceeds were calculated, Kody presented what he called a family debt accounting. This was supposedly a list of past loans, shared expenses, and family investments that he believed Meri owed the collective entity known as the Brown family finances. And folks, the audacity of this alleged move cannot be overstated. We are talking about a man who had barely spoken to Meri in years, who had publicly humiliated her on national television, who had made it crystal clear that their spiritual marriage was over in every way that mattered, suddenly showing up with his hand out and a spreadsheet of supposed debts. The justifications Kody reportedly used would be laughable if they were not so financially destructive. Past loans for what exactly? Shared expenses that Meri had no say in approving? Family investments in properties and projects that primarily benefited other members of the family? According to insiders, the accounting was selective in ways that always tilted in Kody's favor. Expenses that benefited Meri were carefully tallied. Contributions that Meri had made over the years were conveniently minimized or omitted entirely. One source described it as creative mathematics designed to reach a predetermined conclusion. Meri's reported reaction to the final numbers was one of complete and utter shock. Those close to her say she had expected to walk away from the sale with enough money to truly start over, to invest in her bed and breakfast, to build something independent and secure. Instead, she allegedly received a fraction of what she anticipated after Kody's debt claims were subtracted from her share. Let that sink in. After 30-plus years of marriage, of contribution, of loyalty that bordered on the pathological, Meri watched someone who could not even bother to visit her carve up the proceeds of her own home sale. The legal mechanics of how this allegedly happened remain somewhat murky, but the pattern is clear. If Kody's name appeared on the property deed, which it reportedly did, then he would have legal standing to make claims against the proceeds regardless of who actually paid for the home or maintained it over the years. This is the trap that the family bank system created. The wives built the wealth, Kody held the keys, and when it came time to divide the spoils, his legal standing trumped their years of financial contribution. Those who have followed the Brown family finances say this moment should have surprised no one who was paying attention. The signs were always there, the control was always evident, the vulnerability of the wives was baked into the system from day one. But seeing it play out so nakedly, watching Meri allegedly get stripped of her house sale proceeds after everything she had already lost, has galvanized even casual viewers into outrage. And the questions about Robyn's involvement in this transaction are raising suspicions that cut even deeper. Here is where the story takes an even more uncomfortable turn, and it involves the one wife who somehow always comes out ahead. According to multiple sources, Robyn Brown was not just aware of the financial discussions surrounding Meri's house sale, she was allegedly present for them. She reportedly had input, and considering the pattern of how Brown family money always seems to flow in one particular direction, her fingerprints on this transaction have fans asking some very pointed questions. Let us examine the facts as we know them. Robyn's million-dollar Flagstaff mansion remains untouched while Christine walked away with almost nothing, while Janelle lost her property, and while Meri allegedly watched her home sale proceeds get divvied up. Robyn's home has never been on the chopping block. Robyn's lifestyle has never been downgraded. Robyn's financial security has never been questioned in the same breath as the other wives. Coincidence? Sources close to the family say absolutely not. The prenuptial agreement angle adds another layer of intrigue to this situation. According to reports that have circulated for years, Robyn allegedly secured some form of financial protection before her marriage to Kody became legal. Whether this was a formal prenup or some other arrangement remains unclear. But what is clear is that Robyn's assets have been treated as separate and protected in ways that the other wives never enjoyed. Meri had no such protection. Christine had no such protection. Janelle had no such protection. Only Robyn, the last wife in, walked into this family with her financial future allegedly secured. Fan investigators have done remarkable work uncovering property transfer records and ownership documents over the years. What they have found is a pattern of Robyn's interests being protected while other family members bore the financial burdens. Her name appears on valuable properties. Her debts, including the infamous jewelry business failure that predated her marriage to Kody, were allegedly absorbed by the family bank rather than remaining her personal responsibility. One Reddit user who compiled years of public records put it succinctly when they wrote that Robyn seems to be playing a different game with different rules than everyone else in this family. The presence of Robyn in financial discussions about Meri's property has struck many observers as particularly galling. Here is a woman who joined this family over a decade after Meri helped build it, who has been widely perceived as the catalyst for the family's destruction, allegedly sitting at the table when decisions were made about how to divide Meri's money. Sources say Robyn's involvement was not passive either. She reportedly advocated for the family debt claims that reduced Meri's take. She allegedly supported Kody's position at every turn. One insider described the dynamic as watching someone help themselves to your wallet while you are still holding it. The contrast between Robyn's protected position and Meri's alleged exploitation has not been lost on the other wives. In fact, insiders say it was one of the primary topics when the former sister wives finally started comparing notes about their financial experiences. What they discovered when they put their stories together painted a picture that confirmed their worst suspicions about who really benefited from the plural family arrangement all along. Some insiders speculate that Meri may be consulting with attorneys about whether she has legal recourse for the way her financial contributions were allegedly handled. The question of whether the family bank system constituted something actionable in court is complicated, but stranger cases have been pursued. One legal expert who has followed the Brown family saga suggested that at minimum, Meri could potentially establish that promises were made about financial security that were systematically broken. Whether she chooses to pursue that avenue or simply expose the truth publicly remains to be seen. What is certain is that the Meri who emerged from this house sale debacle is not the same woman who stayed silent through years of public humiliation. Something broke when she allegedly watched Kody and Robyn walk away with her money, or perhaps something finally healed. Either way, the timing of her apparent transformation could not be worse for those who benefited from her silence. The carefully constructed image of Kody Brown as a principled patriarch managing a loving plural family has been taking hits for years, but the financial revelations emerging now threaten to demolish whatever remains of that facade entirely. Season 20 of Sister Wives exposed cracks that no amount of production magic could hide, and when questions about money came up, Kody's defensiveness spoke louder than any denial could. He knows the scrutiny is coming. He knows the narrative is slipping beyond his control, and according to those who watch him closely, he is terrified. The reunion special provided glimpses of a man who understood that his financial dealings were becoming public knowledge. When hosts pressed on money matters, Kody deflected, pivoted, and occasionally snapped in ways that suggested a guilty conscience, or at least an awareness that the truth would not serve him well. His justifications sounded hollow, his explanations contradicted previous statements. One viewer who has watched every episode of Sister Wives described it as watching someone try to keep plates spinning while they are already crashing to the floor. Fan investigations have evolved from casual Reddit speculation into something resembling organized research projects. TikTok creators have devoted entire accounts to breaking down Brown family finances using public records, property transfers, and bankruptcy filings. The deep dives have gone viral, exposing details that the family never wanted examined. One particularly devastating thread traced the flow of money through various Brown family entities and concluded that the pattern of financial benefit was consistent enough to suggest intentional design rather than coincidence. The implications for future Brown family income are severe. The happy plural family brand that launched their television career is now so thoroughly discredited that no advertiser would touch it with a 10-foot pole. Reports suggest that sponsors have been quietly distancing themselves from Kody and Robyn specifically, recognizing that association with them now carries more liability than benefit. One marketing professional who works in reality television adjacently called the Brown brand toxic in ways that may be permanent. What made Sister Wives compelling television was the fantasy that plural marriage could work, that a man could treat multiple wives fairly, that the family structure was built on genuine love rather than exploitation. Every revelation about financial manipulation shatters that fantasy further. Viewers who once rooted for the Browns now feel deceived. They invested years of attention in a family that was allegedly operating as something much darker than the wholesome alternative lifestyle they were sold. That sense of betrayal has translated into active hostility toward Kody and Robyn that follows them across every social media platform. The financial pressure of losing public goodwill cannot be understated for a family that has made their living from public attention. Without the sympathetic narrative, without the advertisers, without the viewers willing to support their ventures, Kody and Robyn face a future far different from the comfortable one they have enjoyed. And according to sources, that pressure is already creating cracks in the only Brown marriage that survived. The irony of Kody and Robyn's current situation would be delicious if it were not so predictable to anyone who was paying attention. After allegedly extracting money from every departing wife, after positioning themselves as the survivors of a family implosion they arguably caused, after making sure they came out ahead in every financial arrangement, reports suggest they may end up broke anyway. The universe, it seems, has a sense of humor about these things. Sources close to the remaining Brown household describe a marriage under significant strain as financial realities set in. The TLC income that sustained their lifestyle is not guaranteed to continue. The million-dollar mansion that Robyn occupies comes with expenses that require consistent income to maintain. And unlike Christine with her cooking business, unlike Janelle with her health ventures, unlike Meri with her bed and breakfast, Robyn has no independent income stream to fall back on. She built her security on being Kody's wife. If that position stops paying, she has nothing. Kody's income situation is equally precarious. His television career is dependent on continued public interest, and public interest is dependent on having compelling stories to tell. Without the other wives, without the family drama, without new controversies to fuel ratings, the sister wives' well is running dry. He is a man who built his entire adult life around being a plural family patriarch, and that identity no longer exists. What exactly does Kody Brown offer the entertainment marketplace now? Insiders say even his agents are struggling to answer that question. The whispered reports about tension between Kody and Robyn center largely on money. She allegedly expected a certain lifestyle as the reward for being the loyal wife who stayed. She did not sign up for belt-tightening and uncertain futures. According to sources, arguments about spending have become common, with Kody pushing for cutbacks that Robyn resists. One person familiar with the household dynamic described it as watching two people who gambled everything on winning realize they may have played themselves. The deeper irony is that the financial manipulation allegedly practiced on the other wives may have actually harmed Kody and Robyn in the long run. By taking from women who were building independent income streams, they eliminated potential family resources, while creating enemies who are now highly motivated to expose them. By burning bridges so thoroughly, they ensured that no former wife would ever contribute to a family pot again. They played a short game thinking they were playing a long one, and now the bills are coming due. Some observers have speculated about whether Kody and Robyn could face legal consequences for their alleged financial dealings. The question is complicated by the informal nature of the family bank system and the lack of written contracts. But even without legal liability, the court of public opinion has already rendered its verdict. They are widely viewed as the villains of this story, the people who took advantage of everyone who trusted them. That reputation will follow them regardless of what any court decides. And Meri's final move might cement that legacy in ways none of them are prepared for. The transformation of Meri Brown from devoted spiritual wife to allegedly exploited ex to potential whistleblower tracks a journey that feels almost biblical in its arc of suffering and potential redemption. This is a woman who stood by Kody through the catfishing scandal, through public humiliation, through years of being treated as less than by the man she loved. She was mocked for her loyalty. She was pitied for her inability to see what everyone else could see. And now, after allegedly being robbed during her most vulnerable moment, she may be the one who finally brings the whole rotten structure down. The poetic justice angle is impossible to ignore. Meri was the first wife. She was there before Janelle, before Christine, before Robyn changed everything. She helped build the foundation that became Sister Wives. She contributed decades of labor and love and money to an enterprise that allegedly treated her like an expendable asset when it came time to cash out. If she is the one who exposes exactly how the Brown family finances actually worked, there would be a certain narrative symmetry to it that reality television writers could only dream of creating. Those who know Meri say she is still wrestling with how far to take this. The loyalty that defined her for so long does not disappear overnight, even when that loyalty has been weaponized against her. But something fundamental shifted when she allegedly watched Kody and Robyn walk away with money from her house sale. Some final thread of connection snapped. Some last hope that she had misread the situation evaporated. She knows now, sources say, exactly what she was to that family. And that knowledge is both devastating and liberating. Whether Meri pursues legal action remains an open question. The documentation she has allegedly compiled could support various types of claims, but litigation is expensive, exhausting, and uncertain. Public exposure, on the other hand, costs nothing and may accomplish the same goal of setting the record straight. Several insiders have suggested that Meri is more interested in truth-telling than financial recovery at this point. She wants people to know what really happened. She wants the narrative that Kody has controlled for years to finally include her side of the story. The remaining chapters of this saga have yet to be written, but the trajectory seems clear. The facade has crumbled. The financial manipulation has been exposed. The happy plural family brand is dead, and nothing can resurrect it. What emerges from the wreckage will depend largely on how much Meri decides to reveal, and how aggressively she pursues accountability. Do you think Meri should take legal action against Kody and Robyn, or is exposing the truth publicly enough revenge for what was allegedly done to her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This story is far from over, and the woman who stayed silent the longest may end up having the final word.